ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य महाणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May they illumine my ignorance. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the center of our consciousness, which does not change. The body, the mind, they change. But this center of my consciousness, the true I, is ever the same. It is the illuminator of everything, the seer of everything. Being unchanging, it is beyond time and space. Free from all separateness. It is one without second. Let us feel that true self as the ocean of luminosity, infinite ocean of luminous presence. All individualities dissolved in it. There is no going or coming. It is freedom itself. It is bliss itself. Om. Peace. 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 So, dear friends, let us begin our today's study of this great biography of Sri Ramakrishna with our usual chant. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashvapaham shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam bhuvi grinanti te bhurida jana. This life of Sri Ramakrishna is as such very difficult to write because it is not just a normal human being that we are described. The various incidents and facts of that life, like when he was born, where he was born, and what are the names of the parents, which school did he study, and what all those things. That is only a superficial description of some facts about his physical life. But as human beings, we know that we live on a physical plane, but more importantly on the mental plane. Our body is an expression of our mental life. It gets expressed through our physical actions and how we grow physically according to our mind. And thus the physical growth, mental growth, they are all coupled. So writing only the biography of the external facts of somebody's life and never really depicts anybody's life purely. But in most of us ordinary people, the physical facts, they give the indication of the mental movements too. Like if you see a face, physical face, angry and all that, now you can by that get a glimmer of what the mental movement is, because that is all quite common. So the common things can be fitted into these things, but it is not always the case, because somebody might be just acting, showing anger, say on the stage, so has to make that face like that, but actually that person is not angry at all. So it is therefore many times the physical expressions do not exactly show the mental condition of a person. That is why the psychotherapy becomes very difficult, because you have to guess from the physical symptoms what is going on in the mind and apply the correctives. It is thus because we do not have the access to the mind. But still, in case of ordinary human beings, one can to some extent do that. In case of incarnation of God, it is completely different something. There is no that ordinary way to see the physical and connect it to the mental or the spiritual. The life of an incarnation is a great mystery, that the divine principle, the all-pervading, eternal, absolute existence itself assumes a human form and acts in this world without seemingly any selfish purpose. And therefore, the person, it is baffling, to anybody to understand what this life is about. It is said that by the scriptures describe it, moved by the compassion, the divine assumes a human form to teach the humanity way out of this all big ocean of sufferings. The suffering is there, that we all know, but how to get out of it? It is whatever we try to do to get rid of suffering. I got a big blow on my mind, this and this happened, and so the mind is hurt and I am suffering. So normally what people would tell you, okay, a psychotherapist can tell you, go take a vacation, go to Hawaii or whatever, spend some days, relax, and then you will be all right. Or some such advice is given. But it works for a little time, but again all that comes back to us with double strength. All those sufferings, they revisit us, and it goes on and on. We do so many things in life to get over this suffering. Only the name of the suffering changes. It is like there's two little kids sitting here. They may be thinking that because we are too little, people boss over us, and then we have to do what they tell us to do. When we become 18, then we will have a lot of fun. Now we don't have all that fun. Let me quickly become 18 and then go to college. And then I will have all this freedom that I can do whatever I want. So they may be thinking like that. But if they are wise, they will look at what these 18-year-olds, they go to college. Are they free from suffering? The kind of suffering changes, that's all. Not that they get over all the sufferings. They have added responsibilities, very difficult, different challenges. When you are with somebody to take care of you, you are little, so whatever you can do, you want, you just cry, and then usually it is given to you to stop the cry. So it is, but when you are a responsible person, that option is gone. So you have to fend for yourself now. So that becomes misery. Then you feel, okay, well, let me get a good job and then my suffering will be over. Well, you look at this, those who are just rolling in money, and their life is also fraught with suffering. It is. So in this world, even if the person goes on doing things to get rid of suffering, it doesn't go. Only thing that one can get rid of suffering is by getting the knowledge. And this knowledge is given by this incarnation of God. Remove the ignorance that this little I am so and so, all confusion, I am I really that body? No, and yet there is this identification with body. That is the cause of suffering. We are not able to see that separateness. The moment we shall get a glimpse of it, we will be off this big load. A great achievement, a big milestone of getting over suffering gets reached just by seeing this fact. Just see this fact that I am not body. It's a fact, Kartik, that I am not body. Just we have to see this, and then the problem of age will vanish. It is the age of the body, it is like the age of the car. Somebody was discussing with me that I will get a new car, this is very old and it's problematic and so forth. So when that car was bought, that car also was bought with the same idea, let us get over the suffering, we need something new, a different, more efficient and so forth. And now, again the same thing, let me get another one, then let me get another one. So these things keep on happening, the misery just remains, only the names, the labels of the misery changes. It is, you may have, say, headache is bothering you, and then you look for the cause. Some doctor will say this is the cause. And then you take, he gives a pill, the headache doesn't go. Then the doctor says, maybe I was not right, not this, but this is the cause. Then this is the cause. That headache called migraine, you know. One doctor told me, you can have migraine by 1,000 causes. And there is no really a way to detect what is exactly causing it. And so just throw the stone in the dark, maybe it will hit it, maybe it will not. So now what has happened, the cause of the headache changes in the doctor's language. This is not the cause, this is the cause. No, this is not the cause, this is the cause. But the headache has remained, you see. So that is what happens, that we imagine that the problem is because I haven't got a right spouse, or maybe because my job is very stressful, or my neighbors are very quarrelsome, all that stuff. None of them is actually the cause of suffering. How do you know that? Even if that cause is removed, still the suffering remains. So they were not really the causes of suffering. The cause is ignorance about who am I. And that ignorance can be removed only by this example of somebody who is like us and yet is not like us. That person demonstrates in life that I am not body. And so to now describe that life is not an easy job. One has to connect the physical incidents with the special type of psychological movements. Many physical incidents are similar, like any person is a child, then does that all that childlike playfulness is there, plays prank on friends and others, all that is there. But now it is just an acting like a child without being a child. It is acting like a young fellow without actually identifying with that. This is then becomes a teacher, a spiritual practitioner. But all of them are just a kind of acting, show. And so the title of this book in original was Leela Prasanga, means a play, a divine play. In the play you have an assumed identity. Your real identity is kind of pushed aside, and then it is not completely gone, but on the stage you show something, some other this acting. There is the anecdote told of at one time, very old time, the person is died for now probably 50 years back, a very famous stage actor in Marathi drama. But the fellow was also a drunkard, used to drink a lot and would forget what it is. So all those makeup people, all the backroom people, they would put the proper costume for that particular show. And every day the different this thing would be presented, different show would be there. And then this man was a perfect in acting, in all that he was perfect. He remembered every line of the dialogue, everything was perfect there. But wouldn't remember what show it is today, what play. So before he would go on the stage, today it is Hamlet. So then everything will start. The Hamlet file would open, and all these dialogues and actions and everything would take place. Next day there is Macbeth. Hey, today Macbeth. So that will, now the Macbeth will be staged there. But the person knows that I am neither Hamlet nor Macbeth. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna, knowing that inner divinity, is expressing that different forms for teaching, so that we would learn how we are also divine. By looking at that, by that demonstration, we also learn that. We are in that chapter, this chapter now, where we are gradually seeing that Sri Ramakrishna, almost towards the end of his physical life, and he is just expressing that divine inner, that light of the divinity is just breaking through this human skin, as it were. It would reach everybody, whoever would see him. So this is what is called in this biography Divya Bhava. Means it is the exuberance of this divine, what one can say, emanation from him. So it is, and we see here all these powers are getting expressed. Last Tuesday we discussed about how he could, while being in one place, he could also be at another place. It is these incidents, Sri Ramakrishna tried to not let these things happen, because running after certain all these miraculous powers becomes a business of so many people. It is, but he did not therefore want this to take the center stage of his mission. He would always want people to understand the purpose of life and practice spiritual disciplines. So, but this was the powers were manifesting, that the devotee wanted to see Sri Ramakrishna, and then Sri Ramakrishna would get manifested there. Like Vijay Krishna Goswami is that incident we saw last time, that he could touch Sri Ramakrishna, and so he came to Dakshineshwar from another place called Dhaka, and now that is in another country, Bangladesh, so capital of Bangladesh. So Vijay had gone there from Kolkata, and then when he comes back and tells Sri Ramakrishna, no, you were there with me, what can I say? Sri Ramakrishna was just smiling without affirming or negating anything. So this you can see is with all various incarnations of God, you find this power just breaking through the physical pot, as it were. This is a pot, think of it. And that the shining of the spiritual splendor is just coming out, breaking through this external covering. So, let us read that on page 656. This is true indeed. The compassionate master embraced almost everyone who came to him, and once he had accepted them as his own, he would not let them go even if they wanted to. And this is happening even now. Once somebody comes to Sri Ramakrishna, then he could not let that person go away. He wouldn't throw that person away, and that person also will not be able to go away till the purpose of coming to Sri Ramakrishna is served. It is done. Like in a hospital, if you are sick, you go. Then unless you are cured, you are able now to go out, or then only you will get the discharge certificate. Otherwise, if you want to go, they won't allow. They would advise against it. And even if somebody insists, they will give a right that they left without permission. It is left against the advice, something like that. So, when one comes to Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna would cure that fellow of the disease, and then only that person is allowed to go. It will work. That medication works. So, even this thing is seen in these days also, after these 175 years over after his birth. Still, you can see this phenomena happening in case of people coming to Sri Ramakrishna. They are taken up, they are just cleared of this disease of ignorance, and yes. So, this is how we see he first destroyed the impressions they had accumulated over past lives. We accumulate impressions of every action, and not only what you did from the childhood, much before that, many lives have been spent doing various things. And then everything that happens, the outer appearance of it goes away, the inner impression gets stored there. And that doesn't go away with the body. All that remains, as it were. For example, you store something on cloud. All the information that you have on your computer, you say store it somewhere. And so even if the computer is gone, all the work that you did with that computer is saved, it remains there. Our Jitendra has connected my computer to some such thing. So everything is done, all the files, even if the computer suddenly goes bad, still the information gets saved. So exactly like that, it is whatever we do, this body may go away, it will, and yet the information survives, and that gets carried over to the new body that we take up. The new body is loaded with all those past impressions. Now, those past impressions, not that they are necessarily bad, it is a wrong idea that they are bad impressions, but good or bad, both are there. But one has to see through the maze of them the divinity. And so these impressions, they do not let the knowledge seep in. So the incarnation of God works to remove this, to the bondage created because of these impressions. So these impressions need to be cleared. Therefore the ways are there to what is called yoga, the yoga of action. Do the actions in the right way, so that the impressions that are generated over past lives, they will get removed. Do the yoga of love or devotion, that will remove many other past impressions. The yoga of knowledge, that is again and again making this discernment that I am not this body, I am not the mind, I am this self. Keep on doing it, that will remove these impressions. And thus you are left with you are the all-pervading reality. You are everywhere. You are that. So this is what the incarnation of God does to us. It is without that help, we cannot do it on our own. We need somebody to help us with that. So it is therefore required that and then there are methods applied. Sometimes these impressions are removed drastically or sometimes gently, and then cast their current lives into his new, extraordinary and everlasting mold, and thus led them to eternal peace. There will be no doubt about this if the devotees tell their own life stories. Yes, if we listen to how the incarnation of God changed their lives. For example, when they came to Jesus, well, all those past impressions were taken away. Nothing was left. Just before the Sermon on the Mount gets delivered, he met the fisherman. There was this fisherman who was with his father Zebedee, and then they had a big catch of fish already there, and Jesus said, "Come on." He did not say that, okay, first let me dispose of the fish, let me sell this. He just dropped it and followed Jesus. There were two others who were fishing. They dropped their fishing nets and followed Jesus. So all the impressions were removed in a drastic way, completely. Hey, come on, that process, don't get stuck in the past impressions. Walk out of it. So there are some strong characters who can do it. It is. So they did not care about other things. So similar things you find in case of other incarnations of God, that yes, they immediately drop things and follow the incarnation and thus get their lives illumined. Most others will not be able to do it so quickly. Their impressions are very strong, and so they will do it more gently, gradually, slowly, but that will have, a prolonged time of suffering. Because you are carrying now those impressions for longer time, and if you can get rid of it quickly, the suffering is less. If you hold on to it for a long time, because we want it to be removed gently, so the suffering will be carried on for a longer time. So, but that depends on the constitution. So, Narendra, now this is an example is given, the life stories. Look at the examples. Narendra was tormented with worldly sufferings while he was living at home. He felt that he has been surrendering himself to God for such a long time, yet was not fortunate enough to have his vision, and he also thought that the master had not helped him. His feelings wounded, he secretly planned to renounce the world, but the master intervened. Sri Ramakrishna knew everything, and he was not coming to Sri Ramakrishna for a long time, because he was planning that he will now just run away, giving up the world, and then thus will become free. It is not so easy. And Sri Ramakrishna was molding this instrument called Narendranath for a much bigger purpose. So he was to become Vivekananda. So through his divine power, the master learnt of Narendra's intention and persuaded him to come to Dakshineshwar, where he was living those days. When Narendra arrived, the master touched his hand and began to sing in ecstasy that I am afraid to speak, I am afraid not to speak, for the fear rises in my mind that I shall lose you. So, because this is an instrument through which the message of Sri Ramakrishna was going to travel all over the universe. So the instrument was still just half finished. He has to fully make it, and if it just gets away, then it will be a loss. So he was doing this thing with tremendous skill. Later on, Swami Vivekananda said that uh, uh, here is a person, a man who could just shape the minds of the people as if a potter shapes the clay with such skill, and take the mind as if it is a clay and shape it, mold it as he needs to do it. So that is how you see that happening in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. The master talked to Narendra in many ways and convinced him to cancel his plans and remain with him. Although the master had blessed Girish, another example, by taking on his power of attorney that has been described much earlier in the beginning of this book, that Girish, if just to refresh the memory, he wanted advice from Sri Ramakrishna. He had lot of a big baggage of bad impressions, making the progress impossible. That very bad habits had been formed, and there was no way that he could see to get out of that terrible situation. So, but had that desire, that yes, that aspiration was there, that I also should get illumined, could understand things, very brilliant man. So came to Sri Ramakrishna and sought some advice. Sri Ramakrishna said, okay, that take the name of God twice a day, think about God twice a day at least, in the morning and in the evening. Now, somebody would think that that is a very simple thing and would say yes, but Girish thought what his life is like, that he was doing all theatre, had been associated with different type of worldly people, and himself had many bad habits. So he was not sure if he could do that. So he kept quiet. And Sri Ramakrishna then implored, okay, he understood, he finds it difficult to say yes. So he implored further that, okay, at least before going to bed and after just getting up, remember God, say some prayer. And that would appear pretty simple to ordinary people. But Girish knew what kind of life he is leading and in what state he would be. So inebriated, under the influence, so it is, he wouldn't remember that he knew. So he did not say that. Then Sri Ramakrishna told him, okay, then give me the power of attorney. I will take care of you. Just give me the power of attorney. And Girish felt so relieved. But he did not realize what it meant. That it is now he is not in charge of himself. He cannot take any decision on his own. The power of attorney is with Sri Ramakrishna. And that changed his life completely. So in a different way. So this is the tool that Sri Ramakrishna used for Girish. But it was for Girish. Anybody cannot say that I will do like that and then Sri Ramakrishna would save me. If Juhi thinks that, okay, I will thus give all my power of attorney to Sri Ramakrishna and he will take care of me. No, you cannot give the power of attorney truly speaking, you will just use the words, but you will not actually be able to give the power of attorney. Very difficult thing because of our so many attachments, and we will not give the power of attorney easily. So, therefore, what happens with Girish, let us see. Girish was skeptical and fearful as he remembered the influence of his former bad habits. The master reassured him, "Rascal, do you think you have been seized by a poisonless water snake? You have been bitten by a real cobra. Even if you run to your home, you will die there. Have you not seen that when there's water snakes, there are some water snakes which are very poisonous, but in that region, the water snakes are all really harmless. They don't bite. Even if they bite, their bite doesn't kill anybody. So, when a water snake seizes bullfrogs, the frogs croak 1,000 times before they die, and some may even escape. But when the bullfrogs are seized by a venomous cobra, they are silenced after 3 croaks at most. And if a bullfrog by chance escapes, it dies in the hole. Know this place, pointing to himself, to be like that. In Bengali, he would say, Jat saper kamod, that the real poisonous cobra. If you get a sting from that, you can't survive for more than a few hours. That's gone. So, in some places, instead of therefore going for medications, that, they don't work. So the fellow is going to die in a couple of hours. So they immediately, when they see that a cobra has bit this fellow, they immediately start the funeral arrangements, you see. So it is so Sri Ramakrishna, he said, you have come here. Now that ignorant fellow will not survive. The knowledge will dawn. It has to come, don't worry. So, at that time, however, who understood the significance of Master's words and conduct? As the Master went about fulfilling people's importunate demands, visiting devotees' homes unasked, and distributing boons and freedom from fear, everyone thought that perhaps people like him existed everywhere. Under the affectionate protection of the compassionate Master, how strong the devotees felt, how insistent they were to have their demands satisfied, and how easily their feelings were wounded. Because they took Sri Ramakrishna as their own, and he was taken for granted, as it were, without actually realizing the great, unique value of associating with him. So, it is very unique, that once coming and getting associated with Sri Ramakrishna, it will be something unique in a person's life. You do not find people of such caliber every now and then. It is not like, okay, I am not getting this plumber, I will get that plumber. It is, once I was talking, to some contractor, and I said to him about the elevators, that they are, it is very difficult to get, they charge so much, and their demands are, like that, we have to enter into some kind of a contract, pay a big sum, and so not easy. What suggestions do you have? So he said, look, it is long back when people used to still use yellow pages, that book. He said, look, for a carpenter you will get many. Look for a plumber, you will get many. Look for an electrician, you will get many. Look for the elevator maintenance. There are only a few companies who do it. And so difficult to get. And the association of incarnation is far more difficult to get. It is a good fortune to be, associated with Sri Ramakrishna. And once you are caught in it, you will not get release without actually getting liberated. So that is what is mentioned here. So under the affectionate protection of the compassionate master, how strong the devotees felt, how insistent they were to have their demands satisfied, and how easily their feelings were wounded. Almost all of them believed that the religious practice was a very easy thing. They were of then quite certain that whenever they wished to enjoy spiritual ecstasy or have a vision, they would get it immediately. Yeah, when you are under such things, we take it for granted. How valuable these things are, we know only when we don't have them. When they are taken away from us, then we know how valuable these things have been in one's life. Otherwise, we take it for granted. Just even a single, say, a little, say, pingy, small little finger of your that less prominent hand, even that gets hurt. You will feel that, I am not able to do such a thing because it is not there. Its absence will be felt because it was always there, so you never thought of being without it, you'd say. So, but when it goes away, then you know how valuable it is. We don't take care of the eyes, for example, as much. We take it for granted, eyes. But we do not realize that if the vision is lost, what a great, irreparable loss it will be to our life. A person will just get insane, because the whole world that we see, that isness of the world depends on our having eyes. So, if that is gone, the world just falls and the person becomes insane, just lost. So it is, what is that Milton's poem, Paradise Lost. It is, it is all this lost. The eyes are gone, it is gone. So that is how, when the things are there, we don't understand the value of them. When it is gone, then it dawns upon us that what a valuable thing it was. We depended so much on it without realizing that we have to hurry up to get the things done while the presence is still there in us. So that is how it happened. So and the only thing they needed to do was to press the master a little eagerly, and he would give it to them with a touch, a word, or merely by wishing it. That was how Sri Ramakrishna was felt so close, near at hand, and he would be able to do this for them, that as soon as you come in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, all those impressions blocking the vision or the awareness of our divine the being would be just removed, taken away, and you see that. But how long it is going to be like that, you have to make that your own. You can't depend on that too long. So, Sri Ramakrishna's presence, use it while it is there. Once it is gone from our life, then we will have to keep on crying. Narendranath said in these last days of Sri Ramakrishna that let us make the best use of his being with us. If we do not realize God while we are under his care, later on it will be just we will have to keep on repenting that why we did not do it at that time. So we shall continue this discussion of this special aspect of Sri Ramakrishna's life, how he distributed that grace all around. So, but today the time is over, and we will see how he goes to Balram's home and Ishan's home on these days and what happens there. So, and we will just think about him for a few seconds, and then in case if anybody has some question, some comment, we shall take it for discussion. Yes, any question, comment? Nobody has any question here. Oh, you have, Abhishek? Okay.
You said Girish, it was only Girish who could give the power of attorney to Ramakrishna, and in spite of having those bad habits. So how and why is it that only he could do that and someone else cannot do it?
Correct. That's a very good question. For a detailed discussion, you can read that part. It is in the it is in the third volume of this book about Girish giving this power of attorney to Sri Ramakrishna and why we cannot give it. Girish had a special, in spite of all these defects, he didn't have that deceptiveness. So he has that full faith in Sri Ramakrishna, and so he could give. And we cannot give because we will have in our mind, who knows, he will do or not do. It is, suppose somebody, it is who is just begging on the street, tells you, I will give you $5 million. Would you think that he will? it is, so you will not have that faith that he can do it. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna, who will have that kind of faith that he will actually do it and therefore can give the power of attorney? Second problem is our ego. That no, I will give some power but not this power. It will not be able to do that. Okay, it is, you will not have the freedom when you give the power to Sri Ramakrishna, that somebody, for example, is, just an example, if he is in the habit of fighting with the spouse. Now, no, you cannot do it. That is, it is not in your power now. You shall not. It is the power of attorney to do that has been given away. No, that power I didn't give. I gave other powers, but not this one. Hey, you cannot go for gambling now. That power is not with you. So, Girish later said that I didn't understand this in the beginning. Later I saw that some people do spiritual practice for 1 hour, for 2 hours, whatever. My spiritual practice was continuous 24/7. Because always I have to think whether this is done according to the wish of Sri Ramakrishna or by my wish. So that is where the difference lies, that as Saradananda Swami tells the story of a Brahmin killing the cow. A Brahmin, he had that reared a very nice garden, and so he was very proud of his very beautiful garden, and then somehow a cow found an entry in the garden and started eating everything. Now that is the cow's job. So, and this, in terrible fit of anger, when he saw this cow has destroyed all these plants, this man, this Brahmin, became so upset. He had a big stick and gave a big nasty blow to the cow died there. And then, as it happens, in anger we do something and then we repent, why did, because it is considered a big sin to kill a cow in Hindus. So, I killed a cow, now I will have to rot in the hell for a long time. But then, since he had read some scriptures, he saw that, well, I didn't really kill the cow, the hand gave the blow. And then the controlling deity of hand is Indra. So Indra actually should be held responsible for killing the cow. And as the story goes, the sin went to Indra. Hey, it is said that the Brahmin says, you are the controlling deity of the hand. And then, so you killed the cow, come on, now you will have to rot in the hell. The Indra said, is it so? Let us have a test that who killed it. So the Indra took a different, changed his form, and then along with that sin came to that garden and started praising the garden. Oh, what beautiful plants are there. The person who has done it must be a person of great skill and art, and wow, what a wonderful place that person has made. And while he was listening to the praise, this Brahmin came near and then, do you know who did all this? Well, I did it, Oh, who planted that tree? Very nice. I did it. Oh, is it? And that nice place there, who made that? Oh, I did it. And then Indra said, all that you did, only at the time of killing you remembered that all this time when the hand was doing, it was I. Only the time of the killing the cow, you thought that I did it. You fellow, take your sin. So it is like that. We are very selective in giving power of attorney. So that is why our power of attorney does not get accepted. Any other question? Any question on the web?
Yes. There are 2 web questions. First question is from Michael Doyle. Swami, I know that I need help to march on the spiritual path. Is it wrong to ask for help from several different sources?
If yes, you can ask help from several different sources if they are not conflicting with each other. If once, because otherwise you will get confused. If you ask about the direction to 2 people, how to go there, once it happened to me here right in Providence, that how to get to that particular place, that synagogue I want to go to, and then one said, go in this direction, you will get it. And then as I was going in that direction, after a few steps, I met some other fellow, and just to confirm, that if I go like this, I will get the synagogue, isn't it? I said, no, you are going exactly in the opposite direction. Go like that. So now what to follow, whom to follow? So you can take help from various different sources, provided it doesn't create a big conflict in you. Otherwise you will be so confused. So it is take help from everybody, but make it all synchronized, so that it doesn't confuse you.
Second question is from Abhijit C. It has 3 parts, but they're related questions. Pranam Maharaj, what were the Bengali words used by Sri Ramakrishna for power of attorney?
Oh, yes, the Bengali word used was bakalma. Bakalma means it is the same, that bakalma is the word for power of attorney, that use not a very difficult word, that word is even now in use, bakalma.
Okay. Second part is, how was Girish able to surrender in spite of having many attachments?
Having many?
Attachments.
Oh yes, that is where the faith comes in, you know. Attachments are there, no doubt, but there is this tremendous faith. Sri Ramakrishna used to say about Girish that he has 120% faith. It is on coming that 1st of January, we shall read about it a little bit, on this, that special incident that took place on January 1st. It was triggered by Sri Ramakrishna's question to Girish, and Girish's answer expressing that 120% that faith in Sri Ramakrishna. So, because of the faith, all your fears are gone, you know. Like a child has a 100% faith in his or her mother, that whatever my mother does, mother will always protect me. That kind of faith is there. So when the mother says jump, I would jump because knows that the mother will catch. If that kind of faith is there, all the attachments, all the fears, all that just vanishes. We don't have that kind of faith. You know that story, that a man just fell in a deep valley, slipped the foot and fell in, and found some branch of a tree to hold on to. And then there was 100 feet or more fall down, and so he shouted for help. Help me, please, please, please. And then he heard a voice. I am God to help you here. I am waiting down the valley there to hold you. Just give up your hold. I will be there to catch you unscathed. This man holding like that thought for a second and said, is there anybody else? Because the help of God is not thought to be sure, somebody else will help me. So that lack of faith is the reason that we cannot, and Girish could, in spite of so many attachments. Holding on to that tree as it were is attachment, just to enhance that analogy. And then give it up. What will happen to me? We cling to the things of the world like that. We are tormented by that. And yet when it is told, give it up, what are we to give up? All that we have to give up anyway. All that is changing and are creating, all that is creating lot of torturous problems for us. And still we think, what will happen if I give up? My hands are burning, holding on to a red hot iron ball. Hey, I'm burning. Oh, drop it. No, but then I will lose this precious iron ball. I don't want to lose that. That is why, in spite of all these attachments, the faith of Girish could make him give the power of attorney, and the lack of it makes us not give the power of attorney.
There is a third part. Was Girish's transformation instantaneous or gradual?
Girish's transformation?
Instantaneous or gradual?
Very gradual. Very gradual. Because of lot of these impressions, they are to be cleared. But the process started and was finished. Gradual in the sense it took some little time, not like instantaneous. It is, but the process began instantaneously. It took some time. Last time I told that incident when Sri Ramakrishna gave the sannyasis ochre robes, monks' ochre robes, to different young disciples who later on took to monastic life. He gave it to them, and out of the 12, 11 were given to them. One was left. He said, keep it with me. And when Girish came, Sri Ramakrishna gave that to Girish. See where Girish has reached in a comparatively very short time. So it was not instantaneous, gradual, but fast compared to most of us. So yes. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. As I had mentioned earlier, that there is a special program on the 1st of January, Saturday the 1st of January from 11 a.m. to about 1 p.m. that has a deep connection with Sri Ramakrishna's life story. So please try to come, feel welcome. At 11 o'clock it begins. We won't keep the doors open for too long. Maybe by 11:10 we will close the doors. The programs will continue, but please try to come before being late. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.